Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome in. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. Fresh off a fun night out with the fellas last night at the Wizards game. We'll talk about that in a moment to get started here. Just a little fun on a Friday, but then we got a potpourri of news to get to and potpourri of things to get to. Of course, tonight, the biggest story here on the station and here in the DMV is the potential for NHL history. Alex Ovechkin on the verge of breaking Wayne Gretzky's goal record. He is merely a hat trick away, which is a bit of a silly way to phrase it. Like, what are the chances he gets a hat trick tonight? But also, what are the chances he's done any of this? So certainly could see history tonight. If not, potentially it's in New York over the weekend. And if not, they are back home next week. Certainly would be awesome if it happened at home. But Ovechkin scored each of the last couple of games. He is on fire right now, and the Caps continue to roll towards the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. So we'll talk about that with Steve Whyno coming up at 5 o'clock, the AP's national hockey writer. We will also, on the show today, have our good friend Clinton Yates. And we will give you a little bit more of our chat with Jeremy Green from Take Command on Commanders NFL draft things, because Jeremy was so well received, one of the best guests we've ever had, one of the favorite guests that folks have told us. Got more feedback on this episode than I have on anything. I mean, we'll have some of the biggest names in draft world. We'll have Dane Brugler next Thursday. We are working on getting Field Yates on, and we've had those guys. We've had Charles Davis. We've had all these guys, and then you guys are like, this dude is who we want to talk ball with. So we're going to give you a little bit more of that episode in case you haven't had a chance to hear the full thing. And if you're like, well, shoot, I'll take the sampler platter, and then maybe I'll check out the whole thing. Sweet. Jeremy Green with us a little bit later in the show as well. But last night, it was a fun night. Got to go out to the Wizards game. Thanks to the Wizards for hosting us and 106.7 The Fan. And it was fun to just be out there and hang out with I spent a lot of time with Darius over from 106.7 The Fan, one of the producers of Grant and Danny, and my guy Toby Altizer, and we actually had a really fun conversation where I'm very curious. And this is flat out stealing a topic because apparently we're having this conversation, and I just go, "This is an incredible radio topic." And Grant, who's the one who started it, it was like, yeah, we did it last offseason. But if you had 5 championships to spread out over the rest of your life, how would you distribute them amongst DC sports? Like, would you give the Commanders 5 Lombardis? Would you say we got, 1 Stanley Cup, 2 Lombardis, 1, and we're talking just purely Caps, Wizards, Nats, Commanders, right? Because once you start adding in other sports, you're going to need a lot more trophies. Like I turned to Toby at one point and I was like, well, look, we all know my favorite DC sports teams already got one recently. The Spirit won it in 2021. Obviously, the Mystics won it in 2019. So not being exclusive for any other reason, if you're a huge DC United fan or whatever other teams you want to talk about in town. But if you go with the traditional Big Four, just for the sake of argument and to make that 5 be able to stretch a little bit more, as opposed to getting real thin by giving 1 to everyone. I mean, all due respect to Mark Hines' Washington Castles. But they can have their own bucket of trophies. We're not going to limit you. Win every year. Do it. But how would you distribute those 5? And it was interesting hearing everyone's responses. And it started with us trying to guess what Grant's would be. But I came down on it. I would probably go, I would love to see Ovi get 1 more, because his career, like one thing I love about the NBA is it feels typically by the end of it like most guys wind up with the right number of rings. Like if Steph or LeBron gets 1 more and they wind up with 4 or 5, that feels right for their career. Both are sitting on 4 right now. Frankly, LeBron, it feels like he should have more, but his greatness is I think understood in other ways. Jordan's obviously got the 6, and we're talking the best players. Like, I think Durant is a level like KD's an all-time great. But is he on the same level as Curry and LeBron? I don't think so. And thus, him having 2 feels more right to me. And there's a litany of guys. Certainly, there's guys that were in the Jordan era that should have maybe gotten 1 But when you look at the truly all-time greats, it feels about right at the end. Alex Ovechkin having one Stanley Cup doesn't feel right. Like he should be a guy that has multiple rings. His greatness is that level. And the fact that they haven't, like, it's obviously amazing that they won it in 2018, not trying to take away from that accomplishment, nor am I trying to take away from Alex Ovechkin's greatness, certainly on the verge of him reminding us just how special he is in a way that none of us thought was possible, breaking one of the hallowed Gretzky records. But I do feel like getting him one more feels much more correct for the end of his career. So I would love to say one, and it's got to be one of the next 2 years while Ovechkin's still playing for the Caps. I would also want one for the Wizards, which, it was funny talking to some of the other guys, and they're like, Wizards, whatever. But the more I made my case, the more they agree with me. DC's such a special basketball town that when the Wizards are good, which has not happened basically since 2016, when they're good, like, the town's on fire for them. And if they were ever really good, I would love to know what that looks like, because we've never had that. Grant was telling me, this is before I moved to town, like how electric, and obviously he was a lot younger then too, but how electric the Gilbert years were. But even then, like, they weren't any better than the Beal Wall peak of the early 2010s. It's culminating, I guess, mid 2010s, culminating in 2016 in that series with the Celtics where John hits the shot, stands on the scorer's table, the whole deal, and then they get Kelly Olynyk in Game 7. So I would love to see what happens if the Wizards are truly competitive and what that building feels like and what the town feels like around it. And then, of course, both, because it's the biggest show in town and selfishly it's where my proverbial bread is buttered. I'll give everything else to the Commanders. Sorry, Nats. On the Craig Hoffman list, you got your championship. It was amazing. I'm rooting for you. I would give the rest to the Commanders, but I would love to see Ovi get one. That was my list on that. When we get back, Anthony and I can talk about his list, and then we'll get to the rest of the night that we had there at Capital One Arena. Just some fun to start the show today. A little sports talk, harmless fun on a Friday. Who could have thought? And then we will get deeper into some of the other stuff that we got going on, including Clinton Yates at 4:30. I believe is when Clinton is going to join us today. Then we also got Steve Whyno definitely coming up at 5 o'clock on Alex Ovechkin's pursuit of Gretzky's record. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, and we're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. You have a camera too for Anthony Haney. People are like, "Whoa, that's what he looks like straight on."
I mean, it's gonna take some adjusting, some getting used to, but
don't worry. It's only when I'm in my home studio that you are gonna, or we're gonna move the camera back to where it was.
Possibly, yes. I'm gonna figure that out too.
Yeah, so we'll get that all straightened away. But Anthony, who were you? I didn't see you most of the night last night.
Yeah, I was eating. I was talking to B. Mitch and Jeff. Jeff was back there challenging me to, everything under the sun.
Of course, he can't help himself.
So yeah, that's where I was. There was a lot of competitive spiritness in my area.
What? Why? I guess the question of why Jeff is one that our audience probably doesn't care that much about.
Yeah.
But also it's one that we can't possibly answer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, his Twitter is what? Jeff Too Funny?
Jeff is too funny, yes.
He is too funny. He could stand to be a little less funny. So did the conversation that we were having up front make its way back to you at all with the 5 championships thing? Because that was actually a really fun, hypothetical.
Yeah, Rooster had actually ended up asking me the question. And I'm not going to lie, Craig. I said 3 Lombardis still because football rules, everything. 1 NBA championship. And then I think I settled in on the Nationals having the other and the Capitals being without one.
Oh, why did you go that route?
I'm not necessarily sure. I don't know. I've only been to 1 Capitals game in my life, and there's no shade to, hockey or anything. Because the game that I did go to was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're mad fun.
Yeah.
It's not this, I've said this before. I've only got so much brain space. I've only got so much time.
Mm-hmm.
I invest in what I want to invest in, and I'm not here to yuck anyone else's yum.
No.
But it was interesting too, because I was talking to, I love those types of things where we just get to hang out with the people that we work with. The same way that if you have an offsite or whatever, that you have at any job that anyone driving home from their job on a Friday right now has, where you get to just not talk about work, or get to talk about work in a very different way, as opposed to the X's and O's of, hey, what are you doing on the show today? How'd you think about this? What topics do you have off of this? It's just where are you from? Which teams did you root for growing up? And it's almost a reminder to myself sometimes, because I get so focused on the job. Sports, when I talk to young people that want to go into this, now I'm going to old man the heck out of this, but whatever. When I talk to young people that want to go into this or that are considering it or even doing it in college, and they ask me about going into the business and it becoming the job, I'm realize it's going to change your relationship with sports. And I remember actually having a conversation with Ryan Russillo about this when I was young and getting in, and I was fortunate enough to intern at ESPN, so I knew Ryan a little bit back when. And he had talked about this process on the air. Ryan was a huge Red Sox fan, dude who lived and died growing up in Boston, 162 games a year with the Red Sox, and he's just I don't care anymore. I still do, but I don't care like that. I care now for my job, but I don't live and die with the emotions of every pitch. And some people can keep that. Some of the people that we work with are still enormous fans of their teams. I think I'm not that way for multiple reasons. I think I internalized what Ryan said he was someone that I really appreciated the way he did the job. Growing up listening to his show with Van Pelt. I think I probably internalized that a bit. And I had this conversation with Ryan when I was 22, and I was yeah, that thing you talk about, it's already happened to me. And he's wait, really? And I'm yeah. But the other part of that is the teams I grew up rooting for, I very easily and quickly got geographically removed from. And that was also a big part of it. And some of those teams it wasn't my dad grew up rooting for my favorite football team. that I grew up rooting for, because my favorite football team growing up didn't exist when my dad or my mom was a kid. My mom and dad grew up in New York with my mom's dad was a Giants fan, and my dad's family were Jets fans. And then we all moved to South Carolina in 1994, the same year they announced the Carolina Panthers as an expansion team. So I was a literal first-generation Carolina Panthers fan, and thus there wasn't this deep family tie that like was ingrained in the way that people say they bleed burgundy and gold. It was impossible. There was nothing to bleed from. I was the first generation. My team growing up in the NBA started as the Charlotte Hornets, because that was the team that was closest to me growing up in Greenville, South Carolina. And then they got ripped away from me because their owner was a cheapskate and moved to New Orleans when I was 12. And so it's just kind of funny talking about that, talking about the baseball teams that I grew up rooting for, all that kind of stuff, and looking at what I do now, where I'm just like pure football, basketball, and then somehow like kind of soccer and some of the other sports that I like for fun, and thinking about both that and then the how much more I just care as a professional, and letting that influence my decision on how I would distribute my theoretical 5 championships for DC Sports the rest of my theoretical life.
Now, I think that makes perfect sense. Like, again, I grew up on football, basketball. Those are the primary sports I played. I mean, I played soccer. I don't think DC United was in that conversation.
No.
And then also I ran track. So, like, baseball, I watched from afar. Hockey, I watched from afar. I knew the basics of, the two sports, but I wasn't, as locked in as, some of the other fans from around the area. And I'm a true Washingtonian. I root for every Washington team. So the DC Castles, the DC Defenders, I'm a fan of everybody. But at the same token, I just don't, spend majority of my time like I do with football, with basketball, and things of that nature.
And the fandom comes from like the emotional investment of time spent. And on these sports, I mean, now, I'll care about the Commanders as long. I mean, even right, like, so I worked in Dallas and lived in Dallas for 2.5 years, and like, I obviously cared a lot about the Cowboys because my professional day-to-day life like revolved around that team in very similar ways that it did here. But it actually wasn't as intense for me personally, because my name was being made down there, to the extent that I made a name in media, was about the Mavs. Like, I was very, very involved in our coverage, my station's coverage of the Mavs, and we were the Mavs flagship station. And so I was at basically every Mavs home game for like 2 straight years. And like imagine if our station, Anthony, was where Monumental Sports Network's studios are, attached to the arena. Like, that's where we worked. We worked one building over. I barely had to go outside to get inside. And in fact, if I went downstairs in our building and went through the parking garages, I didn't have to go outside to go into the into American Airlines Arena down there in Dallas, or American Airlines Center down there in Dallas, if it's still called that. So for the first couple of years that I lived here, I was obviously more invested in the DC sports teams and mostly Washington football, because that was the beat I was on when I moved here. But like, I still very much was following what was going on with the Mavs, and then all the guys that I covered left. If I were to get a job tomorrow working somewhere across the country, I want to follow this team until Jaden Daniels is not on it anymore. Like, I'm invested emotionally to see what happens with the rest of his career and what Adam Peters does and Dan Quinn and, all that kind of stuff. But it did also lead to kind of a funny conversation last night amongst all of us, because I was like, the correct answer is we're all most invested in our own takes. If we think that the Commanders are going to be good, then like we five Lombardis for the Commanders because we want to be right. And that's really how sports talk radio gets down. We're all rooting for ourselves.
Truly are. We truly are.
Sad state of affairs. No, we want to see DC win. Always want to see the DC teams win. I hope that was enjoyable for people. Just guys talking ball. That's what we are here on the Hoffman Show. Clinton Yates, he's one of our guys. The ESPN commentator and host of Clinton and Friends on ESPN Radio, joins us next for a conversation, frankly, that I've been waiting for all week around torpedo bats, but also not just torpedo bats.
think what I'm saying is I think baseball has a pretty good hold on what they know the game should look like.
The Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It's Friday. Tonight, could see history, or hear history, I should say, here on the station. Alex Ovechkin going for Wayne Gretzky's goal record. We talked about that a few weeks ago with Clinton Yates, but considering it's Friday, Clinton's with us now to talk about other stuff, unless we're going to detour here.
No, we're not. I'm live in my radio studio, so if you guys are wondering why the background is so bright and sunny, it's because this is literally the look for when we're in Los Angeles, California, live in Studio 5.
There you go. Clinton and Friends, mornings on ESPN Radio. You can check it out in the ESPN Radio app. All right, what I want to talk about with you, Mr. Baseball, here is these torpedo bats. That's every time I look up this week on your network on ESPN, there's some kind of debate going about it. So I want to do two things. One, I want to talk about kind of this larger picture topic we've been tossing around all week about, like, what do we actually want out of our sports? But before that, like, what's, for lack of a better way to phrase it, your take on the torpedo bats and like how impactful they actually are as the Yankees are slamming home runs and then other teams are ordering them and whatever else is going on with them?
Well, to be clear, there's a couple things. Number one, I've never swung a torpedo bat, so I typically don't like discussing how something is actually going to change the game for what I consider my adaptation to it from having played for a decent amount of time. So there's that. But number two is the thing that people forget all the time when it comes to baseball and technology, which is that not superstition, but pattern is so hugely important for baseball players that a couple of guys, even a dozen teams getting a bunch more knocks with one type of bat is not going to overnight overhaul Major League Baseball by any stretch of the imagination. What it might do is get a lot more high school kids swinging it. What it might do is have the travel ball circuit explode with otherwise untalented kids on the whole trying to find something in their bats. But you're not going to tell me that a guy's going to play his whole life with regular barrels, for lack of a better term, get to the big leagues, get a couple hits out of a bat, and all of a sudden his entire philosophy on hitting has changed. There's just not enough data at this point, in my opinion, Craig, for that to be a thing. And number two, I just don't know how well it's going to work if you start trying to find reasons or excuses within your own accountability system as a hitter. If you're jumping from bat to bat, these are the kind of things that don't normally happen. Guys are religious about the lumber that they use, moreover, as far as equipment goes. So, yes, has it changed things in terms of a certain uptick in different things? But we're going to have to see a season at minimum before we can get any real data points, either anecdotally or otherwise, on what this change actually means for big league dugouts and batting rooms.
So I think that's interesting because, like, makes sense that you can have, I don't say manipulation. You can come to false conclusions based off not enough data, and we're still very early in the season. But by the same token, it seems like there's a real desire here. It seems like they are working so far, and it's obviously based on science and physics. Like, these weren't designed just to let's see what happens. They were designed to move the wood around and like have the effect that they seem to be having. And so I guess the question would be, like, how much would you need to see to be convinced that, okay, maybe they can swing it the same way, nothing really is affected outside of when the contact happens because of the density being moved around in the bat and creating a different quality and quantity of sweet spot, that there is more damage being done with the same swings against the same pitchers by the same batters?
You know, it's a good question. How do you have a control group effectively that lets you know that the data has been different necessarily? And I don't know that I know the answer to that question. I'm not trying to dodge it, and I'm not also trying to be arrogant about it. I'm thinking about this sort of in real time, and I'd have to see somebody who wasn't a very good player, for that matter, to utilize the bat in a way that made them feel like or get to a level that was probably replacement level. Like, to me, the difference between Elly De La Cruz becoming an all-star and Elly De La Cruz becoming an MVP is not going to happen with a torpedo bat. But the difference between, I don't know, Dylan Cruz being a big league hitter or not, if that is as a result of this guy finding a swing with a different tool because he's at a different level of the game, that to me would be more convincing. How it can bring lower hitters up rather than just how it can make better hitters better, if that makes sense. That's to me where saturation in market becomes a much bigger discussion in terms of who's doing it and why than the guys that were already good. Think of it that way in terms of like people say, oh, Barry Bonds was on steroids, this, that, and the third. Bro, you could take steroids. You would not be able to launch 100 homers into McCovey Cove. You know what I'm saying?
And also
like,
every pitcher was on steroids, and so was everybody else.
Exactly. And that's a separate matter. But my point is how these things affect each different player is what I am as curious about regarding the overall application as to how this change comes. And that's why ultimately I think it's like, look, yeah, stick them on hands, change wide receiving as a position in the NFL with gloves. It did. Did it turn everybody into Jerry Rice? Absolutely not. But for the lower tier player that probably couldn't do something that another guy could, it added a level to there. I think that's where we're going to see more of this than anything else.
I hear you. I think the Clinton Yates with us here on the Hoffman Show. I think the other interesting part of this, though, parsing this out, is if I'm a pitcher, because like at the end of the day, I guess if I was a DB, I could be like, well, I guess I can use stick 'em too, right?
Yeah.
And so like there's an equal advantage for the offense versus the defense. Here, there's been no technology jump for the pitchers. And if something that used to be a routine ground ball or a catchable fly ball is now becoming a laser off the wall or a shot in the gap, I'm probably not psyched about it. And that to me feels like a fundamental change in the game.
I don't disagree with that. And I think the place where change will come for Major League Baseball will not be in that. And it will not necessarily be okay, all of a sudden you can add stick 'em. It'll be if pitchers started getting balls rocketed off their faces or third basemen or whatever. The injury element, I think, is going to be a bigger deterrent to this than the offensive boost element by every measure of accountability in Major League Baseball. And I think that's the way that it should be. There's nothing wrong with adding a little offense to the daggone game. Everybody's talking about how batted balls in play are down and all this other stuff. We've made all these different concessions to try to make the game more offensive. Harder hit balls is not going to hurt anybody until it does. And that's where I'm basically at as far as what that line is. I can live with pitchers being upset. I can live with all of that, but I don't think that if guys really are genuinely more at risk as a result of the piece of equipment, that it's smart to do.
So this brings in the kind of larger question that we've been tackling all week, and I've been thinking about and frankly waiting to have this conversation with you specific to this one, which is if we acknowledge that there is a change, and it seems like you're fine with it, but there's going to be a lot of people that are like, no, the beauty of baseball is it's been played the same way for 100 years, and like we truly can compare the 1960s numbers to now. In ways that we can't in other sports because the basketball is so fundamentally changed. Football is so fundamentally changed. But the records that Mickey Mantle was setting, like some of those are still standing. And he's still very high on a lot of lists. And that's kind of the beauty of baseball. And now all of a sudden, if we got guys that are going to use this, one of the most significant technological changes, if it turns out to be that, if we're just going to, for the rest of this conversation, we're going to assume these torpedo bats are that, right?
Sure.
So if we move forward with this new piece of technology that boosts offense at a very different level, now all of a sudden we've changed the game. And I think a lot of people don't like that specifically in baseball. And the comparison I've made is to like, in Formula One, it's an engineering contest. Like the actual contest is not the race; it's who can engineer the best car. And it kind of gets to this foundational question of like, what do we actually want in our sport, in our sports? And I think that's interesting to kick around, specifically in baseball, specifically with this technological advancement.
I'll tell you this: in spring training, what they experimented with regarding the ABS system is so much farther away from what I feel is decency in terms of human interaction in baseball than these torpedo bats are. Torpedo bats are a function of a human brain deciding I can use this piece of wood in a different way. This is so above board to me on a regular level. That is a very different thing than saying I'm taking the human element of the umpire out of the game because I want to look at a computer screen and AI to call balls and strikes. That to me is a far more offensive situation than anything having to do with upgrading the technology as far as bats are concerned. I see what you're saying. What do we want out of the game? Some people love looking at numbers, comparing eras. Hell, Cooperstown just had through, in conjunction with MLB, upgrading the statistics to involve Negro leaguers who should have been there all along because it's based on things that humans were doing. We could not actually compare them. That's a historical project as much as it is anything. But I am a in the now guy, mainly because I guess I understand my own mortality and I want what I'm looking at in front of me to be as fun as possible. And for me, taking humans out of the game is a far bigger threat to the cultural fabric and the essence of what baseball is than allowing people to use some bats that are a little different than we've ever had before by a lot. And so that's kind of the other thing about this to me, Craig, is that there are issues within the way the game is adjudicating itself that the bats do not even get close to rising to in my mind. Like, yeah. I get it, but there's just not the same for me. It doesn't raise cause for me. Now, if MLB decides these are illegal, okay. I mean, like, I don't necessarily love that because then it becomes to feel meddlesome, just for the sake of changing. People don't like change, but I'm not at a point yet where I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they got to get these bats out of here because this is just too goofy and this isn't the game I know. No way. Guys used them last year. People just don't know that.
Yeah. I guess, so I would say two things, one specific to the bats and one specific to the umps. We disagree on the robot umps thing because I want the rules to be administered as cleanly as possible, and if we can do it better, the umpires aren't the humans I want affecting the game. And I realize that is a stylistic difference. You are willing to accept that, and then we get a dude throwing a fit, and we get and look, we all love a good manager fit over a bad call, but also, good God, can we get rid of some of these bad calls? And if we can do that, like I'm fine with that. I think the other part though is like, what kind, and I don't know what I don't know here, and I'm willing to admit that. What kind of slippery slope does this open in terms of baseball becoming an engineering contest? Like, what else could we figure out from an technology and science side that changes the way the game is played? And that is a question that I have that is value judgment free. Right.
So, okay.
And then the question is, like, do we want that? And that is where I think each individual fan, commentator, participant, and the league itself has to make that judgment of, do we want the technology that is available to us to help advance the game? Or do we want to be able to look at these piece by piece and eventually go like, actually, that one changes us in a way that we don't want, and we're not going to implement it, even though it's available. And do we want to encourage that kind of innovation?
I understand what you're saying theoretically, and in practical application, it does become difficult when you're talking about car racing, but that's also a fundamentally different thing because the entire tool of the game is something that does not have human levers, like literally. And the other thing about it too, in sort of a math and ordered pairs way, you're not racing the same course when you're playing baseball. It's a different parameters in terms of how you do things. So I don't know that maximizing for engineering in a sport like baseball is going to change it as much as anything. Now, from the basketball standpoint, the engineering we've done has been on the human side, as we've discussed.
Well, you could say the same about baseball too, right? Like basketball, we can talk about the geometry of the floor and the threes, but like baseball just undid some engineering because people realized that the shift was so effective that they should use it way more. They was like, actually, no, this is changing the game more than we want. This is now illegal. And I think that was smart and good for the game.
I don't disagree. And I think what I'm saying is I think baseball has a pretty good hold on what they know the game should look like. One of the interesting things coming out of spring training was that ABS system. Do you know what the actual rate was of success pretty much across the board?
What was it?
50%. AKA probably don't need to change anything because half the time people are wrong. People are wrong. And and until that changes, it was an experiment that was maybe worth doing. But I think that baseball has figured this out. That's why this game has been around so long, even in all the different forms. You can adapt, you can evolve without overshooting the moon. And I think that these bats are not even close to that. Not remotely. I am not afraid of the great bat revolution all of a sudden turning the game I fell in love with as a kid into something I can't recognize, not remotely.
Yeah, totally. And I know, I think the umps thing is so interesting too, because I just feel like if we're watching the game live on ESPN and they've had K-Zone for 25 years at this point, like how are we getting the better instantaneous view than the umpire behind the plate?
Well, that's where the word better is objective. Not objective, excuse me. It is subjective. And one of the reasons why I love college baseball, no K-Zones on the screen, kiddos. Simple as that.
Clinton Yates, you can catch him talking about bats and balls and everything else in between or beyond on ESPN Radio. Clinton and Friends is the show. It's on mornings on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Clinton, thank you as always. Have a great weekend, sir.
You're very welcome, sir. Welcome to the studio. Look,
That's everyone watching on YouTube. That's Clinton's studio, everybody.
goodbye.
I'm in my house.
See
Goodbye,
you later,
Clinton.
Gregory.
You can go to your house now.
What's up, kiddos? It's your boy Clinton Yates from ESPN. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Tell your mama I said what's up.
Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980 today and every day. Today, a chance real quick before the top of the hour. It's the Legends half hour here on the show, Anthony. Because now we're going to talk about one of the best in DC sports ever hanging up her shoes. And then we're going to talk about the guy who just refuses to not only hang up his skates, but to stop scoring goals and is on the verge of history. And then, speaking of a bunch of GOATs, we're going to talk about that Warriors-Lakers game that went down last night at 5:15, where all of a sudden the Warriors look like legitimate bona fide championship material, and how far off are the Lakers from that too? Played them tough down the stretch. But got this in the inbox this morning. Not surprising by any stretch of the imagination. More of a formality at this point, but does close the window on one of the all-time greats, a potential future Hall of Famer, probably a future Hall of Famer. Actually, no, definitely a future Hall of Famer. Elena Delle Donne has announced her retirement. She's a two-time MVP, of course, champion in 2019 with the Mystics. That is the Mystics' currently one and only championship. She will stay close to the game, as the press release reads, as she's going to serve as a special advisor to Monumental Basketball. Delle Donne said in a quote, "After much thought, conversations with family, and soul searching, I finally come to the decision to walk away from playing basketball. It was amazing to look back on all the special teammates, friends, executives, sponsors, staffs, and most importantly, the incredible fans that have accompanied me on this journey. Thankful does not begin to describe how I am now feeling. The game has given me so much, and I'm excited to be able to continue to compete and partake in the pursuit of winning, albeit in a different role with Monumental Basketball." Elena also made a longer announcement on her social media. And this is the one that hurts to read, Ant, because she flat out says, like, my body told me I was done a couple years ago, and it took until now for my mind to accept that. And I hate athletes, especially all-time great athletes, that don't get to go out on their terms. And Elena didn't go out on her terms. I mean, when we last saw her, she was still a really, really exceptional basketball player. And it's a reminder, frankly, as we talk about like LeBron and Curry, how freaking lucky we are to watch these dudes still do it. Ovechkin, same thing. Like, it's insane these guys are still playing. And the fact that they're still playing at the absolute elite levels, because it's one thing to, like, even if you get a Carmelo ending, right? Melo could still play at the end, but he wasn't anywhere close to what he was at his absolute peak. He wasn't going to be the best player on a winning team. Like, LeBron is, Steph is, and Elena still was 2 years ago at the age of 33 when she last played. But unfortunately, she just couldn't stay on the floor with the issues that she had with her back. And her body was basically like, look, we'll let you go every once in a while. You still got the skill, you still got the drive. But the body just said no, and so today she ultimately hangs it up, calling it a career, and takes this new role on with Monumental Basketball.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part for like any athlete, though. Really figuring out when your time is, at the end, and we see it often, during in the NBA where we have pros that at the end of their career they end up being reserves. They start the ring chase because they know, their time is nearing. But at the same token, they aren't the player that, they were when they were in their prime and things of that nature. So it is definitely sad to see Elena retire. I remember being in high school, watching her, lead the Delaware Blue Hens to the Sweet 16, and just, following her career from her time with the Sky, and then also, leading the Mystics to a championship. So, I mean, definitely one of the best scorers I think the W has ever seen. And it's a little sad that, she retires, not being able to, go out on the terms, as you just said.
For sure. Just an incredible player, incredibly unique player. One, for those that don't know her story, the 15-second version college-wise, like, she was a UConn recruit and just didn't like the atmosphere, didn't like the kind of cutthroat nature that was UConn. And I think it's a great story because that kind of stuff gets glorified. And then it's like, oh, if you couldn't cut it, then whatever. But like, she was homesick. She just wanted to be back home closer to Delaware. And she has a sister with special needs who she's very, very, very close with, and wanted to make sure that she was there to support her sister. And if you think that just because you didn't cut it for any reason, including being homesick at UConn or an atmosphere like that, and you can't be great, like, look at Elena Delle Donne. She's a champion. She's an MVP. And I mean, Gino Auriemma now, of course, has nothing but great things to say about her. Just, she was a young kid who wanted to choose a different path, went home, led Delaware, like you said, to unfounded heights, prior to that in program history. Her brother, by the way, went to Middle Tennessee State at the same time I was there, was a tight end, Gene. So shout out to Gene Delle Donne. Didn't you get a shout out on the show today, but salute to you. Your sister's really good at basketball. And so you get somehow a shout out of it. But Elena, then comes into the league, plays incredible in Chicago, MVP, wants to be, again, closer to home, takes her talents here to DC as close as she can get and lifts this franchise to new heights. Also finishes as I think the best free throw percentage in WNBA history, nearly 94%, which is absolutely insane, especially insane when you think that she is 6'5". A stretch big if there ever was one. Super talented, and apparently an unbelievable teammate in person as well. I know Alicia, who's one of my great friends and one of the great pros in the WNBA, really enjoyed being her teammate here in DC. So salute to you, Elena, and hope you enjoy retirement. And it brings you now having this official brings the peace. She gets to hang out with her big giant dogs, her wife, her family, the whole deal. So salute to Elena Delle Donne, one of the true GOATs in DC sports history and certainly in WNBA history. And congratulations on your new role with Monumental Basketball, and we'll hopefully see you at ESA sooner rather than later. When we get back, speaking of DC sports greats, there is no one who is more etched on DC sports Mount Rushmore than Alex Ovechkin, and he is putting his final chippings into the rock of NHL history as well. A hat trick away from Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record. We will talk about it with Stephen Whyno next for Not My Beat. Coming up, 5:30. Really, really smart insight on the DBs in the 2025 NFL Draft from Jeremy Green, NFL Draft Analyst. We had on Take Command. Really smart, really funny, really requested. Dude caught fire. People loving him. So we thought we'd share a little bit more of the pod with you here on the radio. Get to some other stuff this hour as well as we steamroll tonight towards the NCAA tournaments. But the big story in town tonight, well, it's time for Not My Beat for more on that.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Alex Ovechkin is on the verge of history, and it could happen tonight here on the Team 980. We got Caps hockey. Actually, a bunch of the next games are here on the Team 980. Lucky us, lucky us. Will we hear history with John Walton on the call? Steve Whyno will be there. He's, of course, the AP National Hockey writer, and he joins us from Capital One Arena now ahead of tonight's game. Whyno, thanks for the time, man.
Anytime, Craig.
So I just want to start super broad. Like, you cover the sport not only here in DC and have covered the Caps more than anybody else because you're there, you know, also seeing other teams in your job as the AP's national hockey writer. But as your personal vantage point to watch this pursuit, the way it's happened this season, how we thought it got derailed with the injury and he's been able to come back. Like, how do you try to just big picture put into words what you're watching right now? Not to mention, all of Wayne Gretzky's records are supposed to be untouchable, and here he is on the verge of breaking one.
No, it's unprecedented, and the only precedent being Wayne Gretzky breaking Gordie Howe's record, and that was 31 years ago. But we never thought that once Wayne Gretzky got to 894, that's been like a magical number sort of in hockey history, a little bit like the Lou Gehrig record for Cal Ripken and him breaking that one, that we're never going to see that one broken ever again. We felt that about Wayne Gretzky and this one. And I don't remember the first time where I remember when Alex Ovechkin first brought it up, it was 2019, that he would like to try for it. But I don't remember the time that I came to thinking this is actually possible. Maybe it might have been even last year, the second half of the season, when he went on that run. Like, this guy could actually do it now. Because nobody scores like this at this age. It just doesn't happen. There's no precedent. There's no history of anyone in the game continuing to score at this level. So you think, oh, well, diminishing returns. He'll score 30, and then he'll score 20, and maybe he'll crawl there by age 40. No, he's managed to score 40 goals in a season. His next one will be for the 14th different season, also the most in NHL history. And we've just never seen this before. It's just an unbelievable accomplishment that I think everybody in hockey, everybody in the Washington area, and now beyond hockey, Tom Wilson said it this morning, it's bigger than the game now. This has now become sort of a global story.
I'm curious, Whyno, how this is being perceived in the hockey world right now, because I'd imagine it's complicated. And look, there's no other way to say it. Like, it's complicated in part by political factors, right? You have a Russian guy breaking a Canadian's record. Currently, that Canadian is not particularly liked in Canada because of things going on in the world and his place in them. So I don't know how deep you want to get into it. I'm gonna ask you the question. There are no rules on how deep you go in the answer. But how is this being perceived in the hockey world writ large?
On a varied spectrum of some people sort of ignoring it almost intentionally, of sort of trying to make it, this is just a hockey story, whatever. There's the other spectrum of people like Dominik Hasek, the Hall of Fame goaltender, saying that Ovechkin and Russians in the NHL are an advertisement for Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine. And then there's some people in the middle, and I'll throw myself in the middle, who are trying to compartmentalize this as this is a great hockey accomplishment that's also going on in the middle of this craziness. And that Four Nations face-off was a little bit like this, where it was a hockey tournament taking place in this very weird time in all of our lives of the tariffs and the 51st state stuff, and sort of it actually kind of added to the tournament in a way that nobody in hockey could have predicted. This, I don't think, is subtracting from it in any way. I mean, I think Wayne Gretzky and sort of his connection to Donald Trump and sort of Ovechkin's connection to Vladimir Putin in different ways, because we don't, again, the freedom of speech that we have here, Russian people do not have. So you can't almost connect all of them. So yeah, it is a complicated thing, but I think a lot of us are trying to compartmentalize this as this is a great player breaking another great player's record while you have all of this going on. Because you can't completely ignore it. There's still this sort of global ecosystem that we all live in. But as a purely hockey record, I think you have to most people in hockey are saying, this is incredible. And no matter where anybody is from, we never thought this would happen.
Totally. And I bring that up just to be clear to the audience because these are things that are talked about. Like the
Sure,
international
absolutely.
rivalries within hockey are as good as in any sport. Maybe soccer's the one that's win it or that's right there because it is such an international sport, and the Russians versus the Americans versus the Canadians versus the Swedes versus, that stuff before that's why the Four Nations Cup was so great. And so the fact that these types of geopolitical things always, even if it's previous to this era of international geopolitics, has mostly been done in jest and in fun. For it to be happening right now, I was just curious kind of how that's being received within the sport. The other context on this, Whyno, Steve Whyno, national hockey writer for the AP, is with us, is this is happening in a capital season that I don't want to say nobody expected, but most people didn't expect. This was supposed to be like hey, we'll ride out the Ovechkin thing, see how great he can be, score some goals, and then eventually there'll be a reset on trying to win Stanley Cups. They're the best team in the conference. Like, why have they been so good beyond Alex Ovechkin is still playing at such an extraordinarily high level?
Well, Brian McClellan, who is no longer the GM, he's now the president of hockey operations, but he should be GM of the year because everything he did last offseason has worked. Midas touch, turned to gold, everything that he's done. He traded for goaltender Logan Thompson, who that's bad news. He's out for a little bit now, and Charlie Lindgren's net for a little bit, but that's a short-term topic. Traded for Logan Thompson, traded for Jacob Chikrin, traded for Pierre-Luc Dubois, Andrew Mangiapane, made a handful of free agent signings along the way, and every single move has been great. And so he retooled this team on the fly by trading for players in various situations where other teams were desperate or had a need or something else, that he navigated this perfectly. You look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, who did win 3 championships from 2008 to 2017 and all of that, but they've been unable to stay at this level. They're falling off, and their next 10 years are going to be pretty miserable with a lack of prospects coming and all this sort of thing. Other teams just get old, and it doesn't work. The Capitals have managed to replenish talent on the fly, and it's all Brian McClellan, and it's a lot of Spencer Carberry, who's going to be coach of the year, for getting guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois, who was a complete bust of a first year of his contract in LA last year and is now back to being almost a point-a-game player, to getting the best out of Jacob Chikrin, who's now going to be here for 8 more years, and just finding guys who fit perfectly here, and everything has gone right. And it's a little bit of why I don't think the Capitals are favored to win the Stanley Cup, because things have gone so right all season that something has to go off the rails, and things haven't been great in the last 5 or 6 games. But this is a team that has played way over expectations. I think that's very fair to say all season, that we thought maybe a bubble playoff team, but I don't think anybody thought best in the East contending for the President's Trophy.
So how much of a chance do you realistically give them in the playoffs, and who are the teams that you think could really give them trouble, either on the way to a Stanley Cup final or obviously if they match up with one of the behemoths in the West in the Stanley Cup final?
Well, and this is such a sport of matchups that the number of opponents they could see in the first round, the Ottawa Senators would give them fits. They have given them fits this season. Columbus Blue Jackets or Montreal Canadiens might be an easier series. The New York Rangers, who beat them in the first round last year, aren't the same as last year, but I'd be worried if the Rangers come in with a goalie like Igor Shesterkin and kind of the high-end talent that team has of coming in here for a first-round series. But the Carolina Hurricanes, who beat up on the Capitals the other night, are sitting there. Will be sitting there in the second round because they're playing the Devils and without their 2 best players. So it's essentially a first-round bye for Carolina. But it's a murderer's row potentially just to get to an Eastern Conference final. And then there you go with the Florida Panthers, defending champions, sitting there possibly in a conference final, or the Toronto Maple Leafs with Austin Matthews, or the Tampa Bay Lightning, who've been there, done that, and won before. It's not an easy path through. This team can make it. Clearly, they've shown the ability to get through a season and win a lot of games and pile up a lot of points. If Logan Thompson is back from this injury in time for the playoffs, I think that's the key at this point. But it's not an easy path just to get to a final.
Steve Whyno, national hockey writer for the Associated Press, with us here on the Hoffman Show. If this goes right for the Capitals, then what are the things that will have to either continue or elevate? Like, obviously, you talked about the goaltender injury, having a hot goalie in the playoffs. Like, even a rudimentary hockey person like me knows, like, that's the key to the whole thing. So getting goaltender one back, excellent, got that check. What else are the potential pitfalls that kind of people expected coming into the year that haven't happened, that if they can maintain those, they can be the best team in the East and get themselves to a Stanley Cup final?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the first thing is goaltending, obviously. But also they need the guys who have been consistently good for them to continue their production. And that's Pierre-Luc Dubois and Jacob Chychrun and Dylan Strome and certainly the guy we've been talking about, Alex Ovechkin, who's 39 years old and is scoring at a level that we've never seen before, but also was held without a goal in that series against the Rangers last year. And really, that's what they need. This is the highest scoring team in the league this season. Sometimes, and also the highest shooting percentage team, or among the highest shooting percentage teams in the season. So you got to hope that, not saying that we need the luck to continue, but you need the sort of good play of offensively specifically to continue for this team to go right, because there are some tough matchups out there. There's some tough goaltenders out there. And the other thing that they've been very fortunate about is they've been very healthy all season. This Logan Thompson injury comes at a bad time. But at a time also where the Capitals really, other than the Ovechkin record and locking up first place in the East, don't have a whole lot to play for and are trying to sort of peak at the right time, which is easier said than done. But from a health standpoint, it's just stay healthy as much as possible, because half the time that determines who wins the playoff series.
So back to the Ovechkin record real quick as we wrap up here. I'll try to. I'm trying to think, Stephen, of a question to ask after this. So this isn't the last thing I ask you. But Alex gets this record. He's obviously very far clear of the next guy. But are there young players, whether it's a Connor McDavid or someone else, that you could see with the way sports science is going and all that kind of stuff, that could eventually, 10, 15 years from now, threaten Ovechkin's record? Or is the mere act of being near Wayne Gretzky mean that you are so far away from what we thought is humanly possible that 30, 40 years from now, we're still going to be like, yep, I remember when Alex Ovechkin set that record, because it's still going to be standing?
I'm going to bet it's still going to be standing. And there's been a lot of sort of talk among us hockey nerds about this over the last few years of Austin Matthews and David Pastrnak and a couple other guys who are, if they continue at their current pace and play as long as Alex Ovechkin has played, could approach that. But there's the way that Alex Ovechkin's done this is an incredible amount of consistency year to year. He had a little dip in the middle of his career where sort of the league kind of cut off what he did best, and he had to get Barry Trotz in here and adjust and all these other things. But I don't think he stayed healthy. He's missed, the total of 70 games to injury his entire career, which just doesn't happen, especially for a guy who plays as physical as he does. But I also think there's not going to be another player who wants to play this long to do it. I don't think, given the money that all these guys make and kind of sort of the interest outside of hockey that a lot of these younger players have to go do something else, that I don't know that there's going to be anybody who's going to want to play to 40, 41, 42 years old and be able to stay healthy enough to break this record. So that's a long way of saying I don't think anybody in the league right now will ever break this record. And feel free to play this tape in 20 years and Austin Matthews is sitting at 895 and we're all doing this all over again. And that'd be phenomenal to be a part of something like this again. But I think whoever that player isn't in the league right now, and I don't know if we'll ever see that player.
All right, well, you know what? If Alex is going to keep the record, then we can end there, because that counts as a high note. Steve Whyno writing about all of this in the AP. You can check it out on their website, of course, and where lots of other publications carry the AP. That's how the AP works. Whyno, anything else that you want folks to check out, whether you've done any podcasts on this, or I know you've obviously got the book if you just want some leisurely reading, but anything else that people should check out on Ovechkin that you've done lately?
I did a story yesterday on the countdown clocks that are everywhere from Ben's Chili Bowl to bug season in Alexandria, even the clocks and the signs in Moscow rooting on Ovechkin. It wound up being a sort of a cooler story than I even hoped for, but you could just feel this around the area. I hope people like the story. I hope people like everything about this Ovechkin chase and really just enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, for sure. The game, we have a countdown clock over in the 106.7 The Fan studio. I think we have one there. But the game tonight here on the Team 980. Take that with your countdown clock across the hall, teammates, colleagues of ours. Steve Whyno, everybody, with us here on the Hoffman Show. Thanks, dude.
Thanks, Rick. Talk to you soon.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Some NFL Draft Talk coming at you at 5:30. Our weekend preview brought to you by...
Nobody, Craig. Nobody, man.
Yes, no. Craig. No, absolutely no one at all. Coming up at 5:45, and then we will get you ready for the NCAA tournament. And the 6 o'clock hour, men's and women's. Ladies getting going tonight in Tampa. San Antonio hosting the men starting tomorrow night, Final Four, and then obviously championship game. We'll be here on the Team 980. 6 o'clock coverage starts on Monday. But last night, I mean, every time Steph and LeBron play, it's just like, man, how lucky are we to get to still see this, to still see it at such a high level. Last night did not disappoint. heck of a game. Final few minutes too, Anthony, were absolutely crazy. Just haymakers back and forth, bunch of bombs. And it really was kind of exactly what these two teams have become. One, they're both really good. And I think Golden State is only getting better as Jonathan Kuminga returns from injury. He had 18 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists off the bench last night in just 25 minutes. But Steph is on an absolute heater right now. He has 37, hits 4 threes, goes 4 of 11, but he gets to the free throw line 14 times last night. Has 6 assists as well. And then Draymond keeps flirting with Draymond triple doubles. 8 points, 9 or 11 rebounds, 5 assists. And then Jimmy Butler, like relatively quiet night, 11 points, but has a couple of big plays and that knack for timing. And I thought Steph had a great quote in the post-game interview with Allie LaForce on TNT, where he's just like, there's so much that reminds me of Draymond in Jimmy. And I think people immediately go to like the attitude and the toughness and that kind of stuff, however you want to frame that. But it's we'll make the right play, we'll be in the right place, has a knack for the moment. Like, they've got those guys. Steph is still playing at Steph levels, and it overcomes a pretty good night for the Lakers where LeBron has 33 points and 9 assists. Luka has a fairly pedestrian night, but still 19, 8, and 7, and he went 0 of 6 from 3. So if he can just, hit some shots, like that's a pretty damn good night. And Austin Reeves made up for it because he hit 9 threes and had 31 points in 40 minutes. So again, Lakers, I think they're a pretty good, dangerous basketball team right now. But the Warriors, to me, look like legitimate championship contenders, as much as anybody can be called that outside of Oklahoma City, who might win 70 games.
Yeah, since the Warriors have gotten Jimmy Butler, I think they're 18-2, 19-2.
It's crazy.
It is insane. And Brian Windhorst actually had a crazy stat. So we know how good the OKC Thunder are defensively. They're the best, defensive team in the league right now. They're giving up about 105 points a game. The Warriors starting 5 give up only 101 points per 100 possessions, which is blowing the Oklahoma City Thunder out of the water. And I think we saw that on display yesterday because Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, they hit some timely shots. And I think, they were responsible for, Luka struggling yesterday. And to be honest, Craig, before the fourth quarter, Austin Reeves, he wasn't really connecting like that. LeBron wasn't really connecting like that. So, and I think that's just a testament to, the Warriors starting 5, giving those guys problems and, limiting them to one shot, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. They rebounded it well. And the other thing, too, is like, as much fun as it was, did the Lakers ever get within 2 possessions? Maybe they got it to 6 at one point, but it felt like every time they might mount a little bit of a run, Moody hit a shot, Podziemski hit a shot, Steph hit a shot, Jimmy hits, again, not a lot of shots, but he hit a shot. Yeah. Like, it was one of the most exciting, this is still a 10-point games that you'll see, and it just, every time the Lakers would try to make that run, the Warriors just had an answer. And I think that's the thing that's really scary if you're like OKC, for instance, or one of these other teams, is Jimmy's been to multiple finals, hasn't won the ring yet, so he's going to have that fire in his belly, but also has the experience to know basically what it takes. Steph is Steph. He's not scared of anything. And I think we are seeing Stephen Curry in his final form. I mean, the Olympics, think about, like, he's hit so many shots in his career, so it's not like this wasn't a killer, beforehand. And, think back to Boston, the last championship they won, and the shots that he hit and kind of the Super Saiyan mode that he went into. But, like, the shots that he hit, the golden dagger in the Olympics, was just even next level beyond that. His ability to just be like, if the moment is large, I will find a way to get a shot off, and it's going in, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. That's terrifying. But then again, if OKC can do what they've been doing, then there's not going to be no big moments because they'll win every game by 20. But I just don't think that's going to happen, in part because of the slog that it's going to become with these two teams playing so well defensively if they were to meet in, say, a Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, and I was watching First Take the other day. They were debating.
I'm so sorry about that.
They were debating who the most feared player in the NBA was and they said it was Steph Curry. And to be honest, it's hard to debate it. It really is when Steph Curry is playing like he is right now. The last 20-something games, he's been on an absolute tear. I think he's second in the NBA in scoring, or third. I think it's third. But yeah, it's phenomenal to watch. And Draymond Green said it, like he recognizes when they have a championship team. A couple of years ago, when they made some free agent acquisitions, he said, all right, this is a team that can actually contend, and he believes wholeheartedly about this team as well. And I think the last 21 games, they've gone out and shown that they are a legitimate contender.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the week in the NBA for their stars. Did you see what Giannis did last night?
Yeah. Oh my God.
What was it? 37, 17, and 20?
Yeah.
I think were the final numbers. It was a 30-point, 17
35.
rebound, 35, 17 rebound, 20 assists a night. First ever time someone's hit those numbers in NBA history. That's in the same week Jokic had 61 and a triple-double in a loss, albeit in double overtime.
Yep.
Oh, no, it took double overtime to get 61. 61.
And then your boy Steph, too. 50, 12 threes.
Yeah, and then he follows it up with a 37, ho-hum. Pretty average performance by the greats of the game. Meanwhile, Shea's just murdering people left and right. He's played in all 73 games for them this season. He's going to win the MVP, and he should. 32 points per game, nearly 33, 6 assists, 5 rebounds per, on 52% shooting for a guard.
It's getting ridiculous, Craig.
Yeah, these guys are insanely good. The playoffs are going to be so much fun in both conferences. And the Wizards, well, they're not going to be part of it, but they're hoping that some of their guys can come through. Hey, I know they lost last night. Bub had 32 last night.
Man, his ISO work yesterday? Good gracious.
Yeah, kids got something. Stars got something. Like these pieces, they might have gotten some guys. We'll see if they can develop over the next couple of years, but long way to go. And currently, of course, the level of superstar in the NBA is just absurd. All right, when we get back here on the Team 980, some NFL draft talk before our weekend preview. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Weekend preview coming up in just a little bit. But our guy Jeremy Green was so popular. Jeremy Green, NFL draft analyst on Take Command, that we just had to share more of the pod with you here on the radio. Full pod available now wherever it is that you get your podcasts. But this segment, we talked to Jeremy after talking about the wide receivers and the edge players, about some of the DBs in this draft. We also talked about some of the trench players. That, of course, you'll have to listen to the full pod as well. But a little bit more with our guy Jeremy Green here for you on a Friday.
Today's top story from the perspective.
Take Command Podcast, Logan Paulson, Craig Hoffman, Jeremy Green is with us for a few more minutes here. All right, Logan, we talked about edge, we talked about wide receiver, we've gone down a couple rabbit holes along the way. What else do we want to hit with Jeremy before the end of our hour together here?
So the thing I really wanted to ask about was corner and just defensive back play in this draft, because I think there are some really interesting players that are kind of, Malachi Starks, I think, is a good player. Nick Emmanwori, I think, is an interesting player to talk about. But then I think the other thing that I find interesting about the cornerback specifically, there's a lot of guys that are very talented, but there's a lot of guys that are also banged up real bad. You know what I mean? And so, like, where do you think the value is for that group? And is there a player at 29 you'd say, hey, maybe this is the right fit for Washington? And again, like, I love that you are kind of anti-national media here, so I'm really curious to hear what you got to say about it.
I'm going to tack on a part B to this question, too, because Quinn is notorious for finding guys later. So is there a guy that's in your 540-player board that you're like, down here in the 5th round, that's a Dan Quinn corner?
All right, so let me ask you a question. You know this team infinitely better than I do.
Yeah.
You know, I have to cover all 32 teams, so I know the scheme, and I want you to give me a 2-sentence synopsis of what are you looking for in a corner.
So I think for Joe Witt Jr., the thing he is going to want most is a corner that can play man coverage. That's what I think. A man coverage corner that can tackle. Those two things.
I was going to say,
man
the 2-sentence version then becomes, we need a press, or not necessarily press, just a man coverage corner who is not afraid to be physical and tackles well.
Yeah.
So, all right, so I'm going to draw you an analogy. I love analogies. I'm real big on analogies.
We didn't notice.
So, yeah. So what you just said would be like looking like two guys in Asheville looking at each other and saying, hey, I want you to set me up. What are you looking for in a woman? She has a job. Cool. That just culled out 70% of the dating pool in Asheville. So we're down to 30. Cool. You gave me really good direction there. So on the high side, if you were going in the first round, I like Travis Hunter and Will Johnson as off-ball zone, but they're not going to be there for you. Savon Ravel, who first NFL corner ever that played for the same coach that I did. He's more of a zone guy.
Is he?
He is. I love him in zone. He has that Reek Woolen thing of he is read and react, but he's not good enough with his hands. I love Ravel. He's in my top 20 overall.
Yeah, I like him.
I am drunk on the tape on him, and it just so happens that I'm connected with that program well enough because I do know Mike, even though he's been fired now, that the medical on him is going to be fine. It was a clean tear. Yeah. There was nothing, no ancillaries to the other two ligaments. Savon Ravel is going to be fine. But I do like him better in zone. I love Trey Amos. If you're looking for somebody that's going to play up in your face, because Trey Amos plays like he's trying to get somebody in his family to tell them they're proud of him, because he wants to get in everybody's face. He is hyper aggressive. He's not crazy athletic, which is weird because he has a track background.
Yeah.
But he's not crazy straight line fast. I love Trey Amos. Now, if you're looking for that middle of late 3, maybe even into 4, Noel Williams from Cal.
Okay.
It is such a hard evaluation because it's like this beautiful rose that is growing up out of a garbage heap, because it was literally Noel Williams and Teddy Buchanan and 9 guys that are going to be CPAs in 2 years, because there are no other NFL football players on that defense. But Noel Williams has that. He's got that just aggressive, get into your face, press man. He's really good with his hands. Another one that's not super straight line fast, which I think will push him down. I want to say he ran a 4.54 at the combine. I don't have that pulled up in front of me. That's the number that I have in my head. I feel like that is the guy. If you're looking for man,
Yeah.
If you're looking for a guy that plays predominantly man, and look,
Right.
every corner in the NFL has to play man and zone. Nobody gets to just come in and I only play man. And Mr. Quarterback, the fact I'm here, let me tell you that we're playing man. It doesn't work that way. So you got to kind of mitigate the risk. Like Savon Ravel, he can play man, to what I said. I like him better in a system like Todd Bowles where he's going to play zone 75% of the time because he's blitzing guys from the inside and I'm dropping back and reading and reacting. Man corners, I like Trey Amos. I'm in not love with Azareye'h Thomas.
Dude, the 40 time has hurt me a little bit with him because I think he ran a 4.6 at his pro day, something like that.
Yeah, he did.
It sounds right. Yeah. Look, I'm a Florida State guy. I can just tell you, I kept seeing him in the first round going, don't do that. Don't do that. You won't like how it goes. But look,
but at 61,
he's just raw.
I think because he's physical, he's long, he plays man coverage well. I think the one thing I'm glad you brought up Trey Amos because I think the one thing I think that if there was a third sentence to this Dan Quinn corner is the ball skills. And I think Trey Amos has good ball skills. And I think Azareye'h Thomas is a good man, good tackler, maybe converts to safety at some point, but the ball skills aren't always there. So that's where I think I'm glad you brought up Trey Amos because we've talked about him a little bit on this show. Like, again, I think his effort's a little bit up and down, like in terms of like down to down, like I'm just going to pursue to the football, make every tackle. But in terms of the stuff you described, like the press ability, the zone reactions, like it's there. And he's a good body size too. But the ball skills and the tackling, I think, are good enough with that I think that's an interesting person to bring up.
Amos is he's a really good tackler when he's a really good tackler. There are other times he comes in a little high.
That's what I'm saying. It's like he's an interesting watch because, like, I don't want to say it's effort, but there's something like when you watch Azareye'h Thomas, like that dude is there to play football. Like there's nothing else going on. He's like, I'm here to tackle and here to play man coverage, and that's all I'm doing. And when you watch Trey Amos, it's like there's a lackadaisicalness. I don't even know if that's the right way to. You know what I'm talking about, Jeremy? Yeah. And it's hard to jive whether and like he's a person that I'd like to have a meeting with and be like, what's going on? Like, what's the coaching here? Why are we doing that? But in terms of the parameters that we laid out for you, I think he's a really interesting prospect for the Commanders.
So Amos is interesting for me solely because he was on 3 teams 3 years, and he never took hold at Alabama for whatever reason. There was something that happened there that they just weren't. They didn't click because that tape is really clunky. I think if he had gone to Ole Miss 3 years ago and he had been able to develop in one system and he wasn't thinking so much, I think when I watched his tape, it felt to me like he was in his own head a lot, especially in zone. And if you watch his progression in zone over the course of the year, in the beginning of the year, I hated it. It was clunky. It was like he was trying to get to a spot and everything else was just kind of happening in a vacuum around him. As time went on, he got more comfortable in dropping into zone and trying to read and react and use the ball skills, and the tackling started to improve. So I think that's why I'm so high on him. I'm always really curious of how much tread is left on that tire. Trey Amos, I think, there's a lot of room to grow here. I don't necessarily feel that way about Azareye'h Thomas.
Sure.
Because Azareye'h plays, look, he plays the way he plays. He is a bully corner.
Yeah.
He is a bully corner that unfortunately is not all that fast. And he really needs to develop with the hands, with some of the things, because if that initial punch is there, he's fine. If that initial punch doesn't completely land and just completely stunt a wide receiver, then your physical limitations start coming into this. I'll be honest with you, he kind of reminds me of Jalen Ramsey in the way that he plays. Jalen Ramsey was just such a freak athlete that he could make up for it all.
Yeah. No, he's a little stiff. Like there's something like, again, I like the player a lot, but there are some physical limitations to him. And that's where, again, like I'm glad you brought up Trey Amos because I think he fits in that. I'm trying to think. Benjamin Morris is another guy that I like the film at Notre Dame. The hip injury is a little bit concerning, obviously. I want to hear what you got to say about him for sure.
I love the player.
Right.
The injury scares the heeper-jeepers out of me.
Yeah.
Because there are 4 parts of your body that I really don't want at 21, 22 years old for you to already be having issues with. Your brain and your heart are 1 and 2. Your hip, your knee, and your shoulder are 3, 4, and 5. And hip's probably the highest on that high side for me because there's we're developing stuff. Knees have been happening for so long that the tech and the science of it has gotten so much better. I'm going to fait accompli. I don't really worry about knee injuries all that much. You tell me a guy had an ACL, awesome. I've seen 50,000 guys come back from ACLs.
Yeah.
We get into shoulders and hips. That's more of a ball joint that I don't necessarily know that we have. Most people that have hip and shoulder problems are older people. So we're looking to make it functional for the rest of your life, not functional for you to be an NFL football player. And so that hip, that ball joint in the hip, that makes me super nervous. It also makes me nervous that I don't know what the second procedure was. So he had the hip surgery during the season. He had another procedure sometime during the off season, and nobody will tell me what it was. They could have been cleaning up fluid for all I know. I have no idea. Frankly, they could have given him a bionic hip that Tony Stark gave them. I don't know. And no one will tell me. And so I kind of feel like I'm riding blind. I have a second-round grade on Morrison. He does fit into what you said.
Yeah.
I think there's a great chance. 32 teams in the NFL, I'll bet you there's 24 that don't have him on the board.
Because of the medical.
There's too much coy.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Notre Dame is notoriously coy about medical anyway. Benjamin Morrison's been pretty upfront and honest until we get into what happened. Where are you? When are you going to be back? And I have a weird feeling. I think Benjamin Morrison's going to sink like a rock. Hey, there's a possibility you could get him in late 4, early 5.
Because the film's good. The film's good.
It is.
And that's too bad because I think he's a good football player. I think he fits what Washington wants. But again, the hip injury, and that's
There's
the thing.
No way if that is true that any team is going to risk a second-round pick on him.
Yeah,
he should have gone back to school. If there are 2 causes that I can really get behind. The first one is keep the combine in Indianapolis for the rest of my natural-born life. You can move it the year I die. I do not care.
When that book
Indianapolis
comes out.
is perfect.
when the book comes out.
For sure. The book can come out. I'll give you a map of where to put it from there on. The other thing is I know we have an advisory panel in the NFL that tells you where your draft stock is, and it'll tell you a round. I wish we would start as a league. We just all come together. Logan, I think you would be great at this. A lot of former players to just sit down, even on a Zoom call with these guys for 20 or 30 minutes and just go, here is the pitfall of what you're doing. All right, you're coming off a hip injury. You need to come back and give us a year of tape to show that you're okay. Because you can give us the mouth words all you want to that you're fine. I'm not going to believe it until I see it. And then you're coy about it and you can't work out. And really all you're doing is heaping up the stack of issues that I may have. And it gets to a certain point. I got 540 guys on the board.
Yeah.
You're good. You're not good enough for me to ignore all of these things. You're not Jahad Campbell, who has a shoulder injury that I knew nothing about. He's a special talent. I think you are a very good talent, but you add that injury to it. Kid, you'll be better off going back to school. Make your NIL money. Show that you're good, even if you don't start the year. You need to be good by January, so when we go through this process next year, you don't have any of these questions. Then you're a first-round pick. Then you you're not a dart a team throws at a board in the hopes that maybe this works out, because that makes your career trajectory so much harder. It's so much easier to be a first, second, third-round pick because more than likely you were a need for a team. They identified you as the need for the team, and they are going to be super committed to you. A fifth-round pick, they're not super committed to you. If you come in here and that hip is off kilter, you could be on the street looking for a job because I'm not going to lose my job over a kid that I took in the 5th round. If I need to cut bait, I'll cut bait.
Yeah, no, that's great, and hopefully kids would heed that. time for a quick weekend preview here on the Hoffman Show, brought to you by
Nobody, Craig.
Nobody.
Nobody.
Week after week.
Nobody.
Week after week. Week after week. Maybe next week. You got to tune in to find out.
Next week, baby.
We'll see. It's a fun weekend in the NBA, highlighted by Lakers Thunder on Sunday. Of course, we'll talk about the NCAA tournament action coming up over the next half hour of the show, women's and men's. Women's getting going tonight for the Final Four. Men's tomorrow. Championship game. Stupidly Sunday at 3 o'clock for the ladies. Should be in prime time. Absolute joke. Richard Deitch wrote a great article about it today in The Athletic if you want to read more of just how, why, the behind the scenes of it all. Just absolutely preposterous. But then you got the men's championship game, 9 o'clock, which is also stupid. It's so late. I hate it so much. But the pregame starts at 6 right here on the Team 980 on Monday. Elsewhere in the world of sports this weekend, Anthony, Formula One is in Suzuka in Japan. Big one. First of all, oh my God, did you by chance? This was a big enough crash that it might have crossed your timeline, even though you're not an F1 guy, Ant. The crash that Jack Doohan had in practice today. Rookie driver, he's fine, thank God. But this dude had there's the drag reduction system, DRS, it lets him go faster, and you open it at the beginning of certain designated points on the track, and then you have to close it again. And he didn't close it before he started to turn, and he just basically went straight through a corner and just couldn't try to turn. Car snapped on him. Shoot, boom, massive collision into the wall. Like his tires came off the left side of his car. Luckily, he's fine. But the big story this weekend outside of that is Yuki Tsunoda getting who, by the way, his home race in Japan, getting a ride in the other Red Bull car. So going to be a fun weekend. Practice 3 and qualifying overnight tonight, and then overnight Saturday into Sunday is the race meeting. I'll watch it on Sunday morning on demand. Nobody text me. What else we got? U.S. women's national team playing this weekend. NWSL is off this weekend. They're playing Brazil in a couple of friendlies. One this weekend, one on Tuesday. I don't know if you saw, Anthony, last night the girls were at the game. They were at the Laker game. They all got custom jerseys. Got to go out on the floor, get recognized. That was pretty cool.
Uh-huh. So Trinity.
Trim was there. Hachi was there. Tara McKeown, the other Washington Spirit player that's on this roster. I don't know if she was at the Laker game. She did. I saw it on Instagram. She found her wedding dress yesterday. So she took her day off in L.A. to go wedding dress shopping and said yes to the dress. So there's that. But really, it's kind of a hoops weekend. You know, we got a couple more weeks to the NFL draft. And it really is about the college hoops and obviously the NBA with these seeding battles coming down the stretch here. There's good hoop Saturday. There's good hoop on Sunday. And then the race and, a couple other things going on. But I'm sure there's good Premier League action and stuff this weekend as well on the men's side of it. They're getting close to the end of their season. So that's that. I feel like that's the weekend preview. This is not a particularly loaded weekend unless I'm forgetting something yet.
Nah, I think we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of the weekend coming up next, just because that's probably where we'll be consuming a lot of our time during this weekend, watching the men and women's NCAA Final Four. Yeah, no doubt about it. Next weekend, Masters, so you got some high-profile golf coming up, not ignoring anything. Just that's the weekend. Now it's been previewed. So let's dive into the NCAA tournament. Anthony and I are going to flip a coin in the break to see whether we go men's or women's first. That's next on the Hoffman Show.
our final 45 minutes before we give way to Capitals and Blackhawks here on the Team 980. Don't forget, Sunday against the Islanders is here on the Team 980 as well. We are the beneficiaries of the national season starting and crossing over, and although the Caps usually live over on 106.7 The Fan, the Great 8 chase is going to be very much alive here on the Team 980. All right, coin flip went ladies first, and so we are going to talk about the NCAA women's tournament here for about 10, 12 minutes, and then we'll get to the men's tournament coming up in just a little bit as well before we give way to John Walton and company at 6:45. But tonight, Anthony, South Carolina hosting that, or not hosting, but favored in that first game. It is another rematch for them against Texas. Man, this is going to be fun. It's the matchups earlier this year were definitely interesting. Texas only lost 3 games all year. They're 35-3. South Carolina, they've only lost 3 games all year. They're 34-3. And South Carolina won when they last faced off and beat them pretty good. 19-point win in the final of the SEC tournament, 64-45. That said, South Carolina has looked a little shaky in the NCAA tournament. Like, they've won, but 64-53 against IU. Of course, that 4-point game where Maryland had them on the ropes for much of it. And then they beat Duke just 54-50 in the regional final to get here. Meanwhile, Texas, they've been a little shaky as well. 65-48, they beat Illinois in the round of 32. Tennessee SEC showdown, 67-59 in the regional semis, a.k.a. the Elite Eight, the Sweet 16. And then the regional final, they beat Haley Van Lith and TCU 58-47. This feels like it's going to be a defensive slog of a game. And that's just kind of how these two teams play. And I don't know, it's going to be most aesthetically pleasing basketball, but it should be. If you like a knockdown, drag-out fight, this is the matchup for you.
Yeah, I definitely expect this to be like a backyard brawl.
Over under, by the way, 124.5. So your total's 124.5. That's what, like a 63-62
kind of
game. I guess Gamecocks 4.5, so 68 62, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I would definitely take the under in this game. I mean, do you have a favorite so far?
I mean, I think South Carolina is the better team. Like, they are better, they are deeper. I think the best individual on the floor might be Maddie Booker from Texas.
Yeah.
She's got range, she can handle, she can create off the bounce. Like, she's nasty. The other thing is Texas's size is crazy. They are so big. Mm-hmm. But, like, South Carolina's got like 11 or 12 McDonald's All-Americans. Like, they're crazy good. Tina Paopao is great. Is probably going to be the highest drafted player on the floor in this upcoming draft, shooter from South Carolina. Like, the fact that Malaysia Fulwiley, who was the top recruit in the country, I do believe, 2 years ago, the sophomore, is coming off the bench for Carolina. She starts on literally every other team in America. Literally every other team. She's sick. And she's coming off the bench. I just think that depth is too much, especially this late in the season. The freshness, the options Dawn Staley has. If Texas figures something out, well, she can just throw a different look at you. And that's kind of the beauty of how Dawn's built that roster, as opposed to some of her rosters in the past where Aaliyah Boston or Asia Wilson, have been kind of the star centers of the show.
Yeah, and it's funny you talk about the depth of the team just because they have so many players that can, deliver and lead for South Carolina. Last game you had Chloe Kitts. The game before that you had Fulwiley, who went out and scored 23. So their depth does definitely pose a threat to, Texas. But Texas is gritty, man. And I think if Madison Booker actually doesn't wait to get going, because literally like the last 2 games, she struggled to get going offensively. But when she has gotten going, especially against TCU, their last game, like that's where, Texas was able to make their run. Granted, they're going to get their stops, but as long as she's scoring and, with consistency, I think it could definitely be a good game. But I think it starts with Madison Booker getting off to a quick start and not, allowing this game to, drag along and keeping it close. Because in a close game, I think South Carolina is just going to be able to pull away.
I mean, it's so hard because, like, you don't want to get in a track meet with South Carolina because their athleticism is crazy. Mm-hmm. But they're so good defensively. I don't know that you want to be like, if you're just constantly going against their set defense, like you're probably not going to play very well either. I mean, they held Duke. I mean, this game was ugly. This was a bad basketball game in a lot of ways.
Duke plays defense too, though. So like,
right,
that's what I think.
Yeah.
It's going to be. Yeah.
I mean, South Carolina won that game without scoring 20 points in a single quarter. They held Duke to 8 in the fourth. They won the first 16-10. They lost the second quarter 12-10. Then barn burner of a third, 20-12, and then 16-8 in the fourth quarter. Yeah. And that's how South Carolina was able to win the game. They overcame a 4-point deficit going into the fourth by holding Duke to 8 points in the fourth quarter. They won that game, Anthony, shooting 8 threes. What year is this?
1962.
They didn't even have the three-point line then.
Yeah, they did.
Like, that's what that game felt like. And so it's going to be interesting to see stylistically how this goes down. The other game is going to have some points.
Yes, a lot of points.
Other game is, I believe we would call this slightly different. The total is 134.5. Give me the over on that one. Lauren Betts in UCLA, Kiki Rice, UCLA, of course, DC's very own, taking on Paige Beckers and UConn. And ESPN's matchup predictor has this 71% UConn winning. And, you know, we just said the highest scoring quarter in that Duke-South Carolina game was Duke's 20. Paige had 19 by herself in the fourth quarter of their Elite Eight win over the University of Southern California. This UConn team is nasty. This UCLA team is really, really good, though. And I think it comes down to, you know, we said this, Kiki Iriafin versus Sarah Strong, and Sarah Strong was unbelievable in the first half against Southern California. And Lauren Betts, Sarah Strong, like that might be the matchup here. If Strong can pull Betts away from the basket, open things up for her teammates in terms of driving lanes, all that kind of stuff. Not to mention if she can do a job on Betts and make UCLA struggle offensively, I think that's going to be real, real interesting. Plus, I do wonder if we get the Paige versus Kiki one-on-one matchup. Like, I think that they might stick Paige on Kiki and try to be disruptive at the point of attack. Obviously, UConn's got other options, including AZ Fudd, who's terrific defensively and is, you know, just playing better and better on that end of the floor. She gets healthier and healthier and kind of sharper and sharper as the season goes. But this matchup, man, I'm sad that it starts at 9:30 at night because I don't want to wait for it. I wish this was the first game selfishly because I'm just so jacked up for this game. And you don't have to make any jokes about how early I go to bed here, Anthony.
Yeah, hey, look, I was about to, but I'm not even going to do that. Nah, this game is definitely going to be exciting to watch just because, again, it's offensive based. It's going to be a lot of points, and that's what a lot of people, I think, you know, like to see. They like to see the ball going to the basket. Now, like in terms of, so I'm not going to lie, Craig, UConn is definitely the team that I had winning it all. But
Same.
Lauren Betts does scare me just because she is 6'7". She is very skillful. She has good footwork, and she's strong, man. Sarah Strong is only 6'2".
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting to see how UConn goes about, you know, defending her, who they're going to throw on. They could throw the freshman on her. But, again, like Lauren Betts is a junior. She's been here before. Defending her is really, like, all I'm, like, focused on. I think – outside of like her, like Kiki's definitely going to be able to get off. Lolo Jones is going to be able to contribute as well. But I think when it comes down to UConn and how they want to win, if you can, you know, limit her, get her into some foul trouble, as you said, you know, maybe have Sarah Strong, you know, pull her away from the basket, and that'd be a matchup nightmare for her. I think UConn have the chance, but I think it's going to go back and forth down to the wire, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think so too. It really is going to me come down to Betts, or if like Kiki can have a night where she goes a little crazy. But like Paige is on a heater right now, bro. Like she only played 22 minutes against Arkansas State in that first round game. But in the 3 games since then, she's 34, 40, and 31. Her 3-point shooting, 60%, 75%, 50%. Like, she's a menace.
Yeah.
4 steals, 3 steals, 4 steals. Last game, she also had 6 assists. Like, 2 blocks in each of the last 2 games. Dog, she is... It's interesting because UConn's history is so littered with championships that Paige currently kind of occupies a unique space. All of the UConn greats all of them have championships. Fee,
Mm-hmm.
Stewie,
Yep.
Maya, Tarasi, Bird, Lobo, anybody else you want to add to that list in between. They've all, except for the players that come in, it's been 10 years since they've won one. Like Nafisa was on the last championship team, and she was young. That was, I think, Stewie's senior year. So Fee, I guess, didn't really win one as the best player on her own. Obviously, the COVID years kind of get messed up in between then, and that UConn team where Paige was on that freshman on that team. Like that UConn team was really, really good.
Yeah.
In many ways, that felt like Sabrina Ionescu's championship to lose, but absolutely Paige would have been in contention with that UConn team there. But like she's in kind of a unique spot, and how much does a championship mean to her legacy? I don't think she needs it. Like to get on the Mount Rushmore at UConn, you need one. But that's how good the Mount Rushmore is.
Yeah.
But is she still a top 6-7 player all time that Gino's ever had?
Oh, yeah. No
yeah.
question.
And she's doing things in the NCAA tournament that no one ever has at that program. And that is kind of all that needs to be said about how great she is as a college player. No one, I don't think, has ever scored back-to-back 30-point games in the NCAA tournament. She's got 3 of them in a row, and I certainly think she's on. She could finish out with 2 more and just run the table here in the NCAA tournament, which would be incredible to watch. So that game's tonight, 9:30. First game starts at 7, so you can check those out on. I think they're both on ESPN. In terms of the tips, championship game again Sunday, 3 o'clock. Because the NCAA is stupid and doesn't want to make money by putting them in prime time?
Yeah.
Morons.
Not smart.
Morons. All right. When we get back, men's tournament tonight. Cooper Flagg and Duke leading the headlines. But first, the rest of the world in women's sports and the rest of what's going on there. It's presented to you by Wawa. Chicken how you wanna at Wawa with customizable, crispy, and roasted chicken sandwiches. Tonight, the men will watch the ladies get ready, and then tomorrow it is go time for the Final Four on the men's side of the bracket. These games should be real good. You got all 4 number 1 seeds, Anthony. And just real quick, how you doing in your bracket?
I'm actually in terms of I have 3 of the 4 teams in the Final Four. So I'm doing okay.
Were you in any like big pools?
I was only in one pool, and that was just with my friend group, to be honest.
And did you have any chance of winning said pool?
I'm checking right now, and I currently have the best percentage.
So that's a yes.
I think I'm going to win because I have two brackets. One bracket I have Duke winning, one bracket I have Florida winning. So hopefully one of them makes it to the championship, or if both make it, then I'll win, regardless.
So I went with the straight chalk 4-1 seeds, and
that was smart.
If Duke wins this national title, bro, I'm winning an enormous pool.
Enormous.
I don't know how many people are in it, but it's like I think a couple hundred people. Actually, I can tell you how many people are in it. How many people are in this pool? 223 brackets are in this pool, and I will win it. I have no idea funding-wise what that is going to mean, but I do think it's quite good. Thank you, Kevin Brown. I also pulled one of the biggest idiot moves that I have ever pulled in a fantasy sport, because counting this as fantasy sports, right? So we do an eliminator pool every year, also very large. And I played it perfectly. I got to the Final Four weekend with the intention of, okay, I'm going to pick the winner opposite Duke. Had him available to pick because obviously once you pick a team, you can't pick them again. Pick Houston. All right, sweet, done. Now just leave Duke for the title game, and I'm going to make it all the way. And if someone else does the same exact thing and ties me, they tie me, but I'm good. Well, last Saturday night, I made my pick for Sunday. Set it, forget it. Forgot to double check the bracket, and picked Houston to win, and didn't realize, I was picking between Houston and Auburn. And in my head, those 2 teams will match up opposite each other next weekend, and then I'll pick Duke over Florida, and then I'll pick Auburn, Houston. I'm going to pick Houston over Auburn, then Duke over Houston in the title game.
Yeah.
The problem is Auburn and Florida play each other. So I messed that up. Even though I had all the right teams available.
That's actually hilarious.
I just totally screwed myself in this gigantic pool. If Duke wins over Houston, I'm going to make it to the title game and have no one left to pick. And I'm going to lose the pool based off that.
That would hurt.
Like an absolute jackass.
So the team you want to win then, or you hope to win, is Houston, right?
No, I picked Duke to beat Houston because I think that's what's going to happen. Duke. And then if all of a sudden I get really lucky in the title game, where I think there's people that will probably then have Duke available to pick and Florida or whoever available to pick, and so either way, someone will win the pool, but that's not me. I'm not going to wind up tied. But because there's too many people remaining, that's the downside of so many favorites getting this far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really, really messed it up. But I'm undoubtedly rooting for Duke to win it all because I want to win the other pool. So at least my rooting interests are re-solidified. Like, do I want to go out with being right and screwing myself over, or do I want to go out being okay? Well, hey, I wasn't going to get it right anyway. No. I need Duke to win because I want to win the other bracket pool.
Yeah.
I'm not conflicted.
And I got to let you know. So I was number 1 in my women's bracket, and I was number 2 in the men's bracket. I was looking at it wrong. I can't win the men's bracket. I can't.
Real quick, I am the women's bracket did not go great for me. I'm I got 20. I'm in a 22 person deal, and I'm somehow sitting 16th.
Dang, that's brutal.
Yeah. Now
Next time,
most of the people ahead of me picked UCLA or South Carolina, so I still have a chance to rock it up a little bit. But
yeah,
dang, that's a bad. Notre Dame killed me. That's the one that hurt.
I feel you on that one.
But I listened to Kevin Brown on this show. All right, quickly, now that we've talked about ourselves, let's talk about the games. Florida Auburn, mad interesting. Jade Broom is good to go with the elbow injury. He says he's 100%. We know how dangerous this Florida team is. We know how tough they are. The way they were able to rally late in their Elite Eight game. The way Walter Clayton just was like, we're not dying.
He's a bad man.
Yeah, but this Auburn team is so experienced. Frankly, I don't say this meanly. They're so old. Like, their starting lineup, we talked about this yesterday, is older on average than the Wizards starting lineup. As well as there was one other team in the NBA as well. I can't remember who it was. But their starting lineup is legitimately older than some NBA teams. So this is a very, very, very experienced group. Bruce Pearl's a very, very, very good coach. But this Florida team is also very experienced. Like, Clayton's got a ton of experience. They're bigs. They got some guys that are really experienced. So I don't have a strong lean in this game one way or the other. I think this game is going to be an absolute barn burner. And by the way, these two teams played each other in the SEC all year, so they're super familiar with each other.
Yeah, they definitely are. And to be honest, Craig, I thought Florida was going to be able to, have the edge when it came to like rebounds, offensive rebounds in particular. But Auburn actually out-rebounded them on the offensive side of the glass last time they played. Granted, Florida ended up, winning the game. But I was thinking that was going to be the difference maker in the game. To be honest, it's tough. But I'm going to go with the Florida Gators because, honestly, Walter Clayton, when the games are close, he's the guy that bails them out every single time. And this guy, he just makes clutch shot after clutch shot after clutch shot. And Janae Broom is good, but I think Florida, they're going to tame them a little bit.
Yeah,
I think they are.
I tend to slightly lean that direction. The other game is so interesting to me. Like, Houston gets after you.
They do. Some dogs.
And for the most part, that's going to work. The problem is, what happens when you try to press the hell out of talent like Duke? Like, is Duke skilled enough, big enough, fast enough, smart enough to just wreck this press? I mean, they held Tennessee to 50, bro. They held Purdue to 60. Like, what happens when it's, hey, all right, we're going to press. Okay, Cooper Flagg's like, I'm going to look right over you, throw it to another dude who can shoot from 30 feet, who then can lob it to another top 5 pick. Like, they got like 3 top 10 picks and 6 NBA draft picks this year on the roster. There's a reason teams don't press in the NBA because it doesn't work. They're too skilled. And so I think stylistically this becomes really fun to see if this young but supremely talented Duke team can handle the type of intensity and pressure and fitness and all of that. We told you yesterday about the mile times on the Houston team. This team is ridiculously fit, and they can play at a very high intensity for all 40 minutes. But, like, it's almost, you just grab something too hard, and it slips through your fingers. Like, I'm a little afraid for Houston. That could be how this goes for Duke. And it might not be that way for 40 minutes, but if they have, like, 2 big bursts, one each half, is that enough that they can pull away?
Yeah, I think, as you just alluded to, it's a styles make fights kind of matchup. And Duke literally has 5 skill players. Everybody on the Duke starting 5 can dribble, even the guys that are coming off the bench. So I just think when it comes to, like, handling that pressure, granted, I think Houston's going to, get some steals just because all season they have been able to, force some of the best teams to turn it over. But I think John Shire and Cooper Flagg and Tyrese Proctor, I think they're going to settle the guys down and be able to, allow them themselves to, be able to break Houston's press. Also, I think when it comes to Houston's offense, they got to hit some shots. They rebound at a very high rate, and Duke, again, is just so good at, defensive rebounding and then using that to, get out into transition. So it's going to be an interesting matchup.
That's the other thing too, right? Is if they can make shots, if Duke can force Houston to miss and then get out in transition, they don't have to deal with the press. Like,
as long as they rebound, they got to rebound because Houston is really, really good at rebounding their own misses.
Watch Flagg have like 30 and 15.
Man, it's going to be
he's so
30
good.
and 15 will be
he's
crazy.
So good, bro. So we'll see. That game is the late game, 8:50 tip roughly on Saturday night, and then we'll talk about the championship game on Monday ahead of it, which you'll hear here on the Team 980. We get back, we wrap up the show with real things real people said into real microphones. Wrapping up here on a Friday on the Hoffman Show, Team 980. Always live as well on the free, he said, Odyssey app. This weekend, don't forget, Caps hockey, Sunday. Can Ovi get the record if he doesn't get it tonight? In a way, I hope not. Hope they win. Stack some more wins here. Seal up that 1 seed. But I kind of hope he breaks this thing at home. But first chance tonight, again, Caps, John Walton and company getting going about 10 minutes from right now as Ovi is a hat trick shy of Wayne Gretzky's record. Day to talk about all-time greats, Anthony. Did you see the news that just came through NFL adjacent?
I did not.
Julio Jones officially retires.
Oh, man.
Yeah, which, not surprised. I think he last played for the Eagles 2 years ago, but obviously most of his career with the Falcons. Like, he is both a surefire Hall of Famer, and I kind of think he's a what-if guy. Like, he was such a preposterous athlete. I mean, going back to the NFL Combine, now dudes don't run for if they wake up and didn't like the way their breakfast tasted, they won't run the 40 if they're top guys. Travis Hunter didn't run today at Colorado's Pro Day. He's just like, what am I going to do?
Nothing.
Yeah, why would he? Like, he's like, I played 90 snaps a game for 3 years. Go watch the tape. I get it. Like, what's he going to do? Help his draft stock? Like, I selfishly wish he would have run because I want to know what his 40 time is, because I want to be able to compare him not only to other guys that have been in the past, but I want to be able to compare him in the future to other guys and kind of have an understanding of like what his play speed is, kind of compare the tape and what you see there to the 40 time and the stopwatch. And like, it's fun. Like, by the way, that's what we missed in the weekend preview. Grand Slam track previews or debuts this weekend. The new pro track league with like the best track stars in the world. That's going to be crazy fun. I believe they start running tonight. The first event is in Kingston, Jamaica. But I'm definitely excited for that. They're going to Philly in a couple of weeks. I I might got to go up. Anthony, you want to go on a field trip to Philadelphia? Go watch some fast people run in circles?
When you trying to go?
When the event is?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Philly's my second home. I'll take you to get some good food.
You're going to tell me where good food is in Philly, considering who my wife is and where she's from?
Well, yeah, that too.
We've taught you about so much food, Anthony. What?
You guys have. Hey,
go ahead.
You definitely have. You definitely have.
No, I'm intrigued. Where are you taking us in Philadelphia? What spot do we need to know about in Philly?
Green eggs.
What you know about Middle Child? What you know about Zahav? What you know about Goldie's? What you know about
See, you got
Vetri?
too many spots, Craig.
What
I
you
only
know
have
about-
one spot that I always go to when I go there.
All right, green
Green
eggs.
eggs, breakfast spot.
Okay, I will ask Rachel if she's familiar.
Okay.
Middle Child, we gotta get you to Middle Child for breakfast.
Say no more.
Yo, that sandwich is crazy. Anyway, what were we talking? Oh, yeah, Grand Slam tracks this weekend. What were we talking about? Oh, Julio Jones. That's what we were talking about. This dude ran a 4.3 on a broken foot.
Whoa, I didn't know he had a broken foot.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
Yeah, he had a broken foot. And it was like, oh, yeah, he ran a 4.3. What? Yeah. That's who Julio Jones is. Just one of the craziest athletes, incredible receiver. He was more than just a freak athlete. Like he got but he just couldn't stay completely healthy, it felt like. Obviously, the peak of his powers, that Super Bowl run under DQ back in 2015 with Matt Ryan winning or not 2015, what was that, 2016? When Matt Ryan won the MVP, Kyle Shanahan was the OC, DQ the head coach. They were just awesome. Julio Jones, surefire Hall of Famer, officially calling it quits today at after 13 seasons in the NFL. Of course, you missed the news earlier as well. Elena Deladon calls it a career today. WNBA superstar, two-time MVP, 2019 champ with the Mystics, is going to take on a special advisor role with Monumental Basketball. So salute to those two greats as we get a little bit more sound from a great, talking about some other greats here to close out the show in Real Things, Real People Said into real microphones.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5-11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All right, let's go with the LeBron sound first, Ant, because we got time, I think, for both of these. LeBron James, we talked about this game earlier in the show. Last night after losing to the Warriors is, I don't want to say scared, but certainly is like, oh, man, these guys again, this looks like a familiar version of this team.
Knowing, assuming that you've watched what the Warriors have looked like with Jimmy Butler since the trade, but having seen it now for the first time played against it, what did you sort of make of what they put together over there, knowing that that's a team you could see in 2 weeks pretty easily?
I mean, I've been a part of them making big acquisitions to change their dynamic of their team before. And had to go against them when they added Kevin Durant. So, I mean, Jimmy Butler is great, and he adds a toughness to him. He adds a championship DNA type of guy. But it's always the same. They always figure it out. They always add somebody that makes them dynamic.
He's kind of got that. Damn it, not this again.
I got the feel that Bron didn't really care. Like, all right, you have Jimmy, but I've seen this team when they've had Kevin Durant in his prime. Like, Jimmy's good though.
Yeah,
I think that's more
to
so
an
what he's
extent,
saying.
but also
Jimmy's
like them acquiring Kevin Durant probably cost him 2 championships. So I could see him being quite annoyed. We're talking about Julio Jones being just an absolute physical freak. There is perhaps no greater physical freak in NFL history, with all due respect to all the dudes that could destroy the NFL Combine, than Julius Peppers, which Saquon Barkley found out very early in his career, as he discussed on the YouTube series Hot Ones.
Going from college to the NFL, like, were there any moments that stand out in your memory?
I kicked a little bit at the end.
Yeah,
okay.
right. I think it heard you talking a little bit.
Yeah, I'll tell you the story. Julius Peppers, obviously unbelievable talent. My rookie year, we had a play. I broke it outside and kind of got blown dead. I think there was a flag on it, and he had me like right here, like by my shoulder pads, and like I'm like, he's trying me. So I went like this. Like I tried to hit his arm down, and didn't move, and I tried to hit it again, and didn't move, and then I'm looking at him like, all right, bro, like come on, like let me go. And then that's like when I realized that like there's a difference between like grown men strength and like being strong in the weight room. And yeah, that was probably like my most humbling moment of my life, not just on the football field, but as a man too.
Imagine, Anthony, you're Saquon Barkley. Everyone's talking about how strong, powerful, explosive you are coming out of Penn State. Oh, he cleans 405. He squats 600 pounds. You are the strongest man that you have ever seen. And you get to the NFL, and you try to, it's a dead play. And another grown man just grabs you. And you become little brother who's screaming, "Let go, let go!" And that's basically, they on the show, they show the clip. And you can see Saquon being like, "Get off. I said, man, let me go."
He was trying everything in his power to, like, get out of Julius Pepper's grasp. Like, karate chop, elbow chop, headbutt. It didn't matter. Like, he wasn't breaking that
Julius
grasp.
is probably just laughing. Julius has his big, deep voice. I just imagine, just,
insane.
Dude was like 6'7". Probably ran a 4.4. Maybe ran a 4.3 coming out. Did Julius Peppers run a 40? I don't think he ever did. Julius Peppers 40. It says 4.68. I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah.
I don't believe that for a second. But also, he was 6'7", 295. So have that to think about this weekend. We'll see you on Monday.